Good morning and hello and welcome to the True Disciples broadcast. For the next 30 minutes, my goal is to inspire you, to educate you, to challenge you, and hopefully for some of you, activate you into a confidence of taking your Christian faith and bringing it into the culture. My name is Dr. Kevin Baird. I am the host of this broadcast. I'm a pastor, have been for nearly 30 years now. I'm the lead pastor of Legacy Church here in Charleston, South Carolina, as well as the executive director of the South Carolina Pastors Alliance, a network of nearly 300 pastors networking together to try to influence public policy with regards to faith, family, and freedom. And I'm so glad that you join me today on this broadcast. I know for the last few weeks we have been playing some messages, and hopefully that has been a positive thing for those that are listening and bringing some teaching with regards to taking your faith into important arenas. But today, we're changing a little bit, as I promised we do on numbers of occasions. I'm going to be doing an interview today with a friend of mine, and one that I know you're going to enjoy hearing today, State Senator Lee Bright. He is with us from the Roebuck area, and let me just say greetings and welcome to you, Senator Bright.
Thanks for having me on the show.
I am honored that you would take the time to do this. I know you're swinging through the area and you're making several stops, and I appreciate you taking the time to visit with me today. What we're going to do in this half hour is I want to talk a little bit about your background with regards to your faith. I think it would be interesting for people sort of to hear your testimony, how God plays a part in your life, and just hearing a little bit about your journey this way before maybe we dive into how that applies and what God's called you to do in the governmental arena. But being with us today, why don't you just start? Why don't you tell us a little bit, Senator Bright, kind of your testimony and how you came to know the Lord, and anyway, just your faith walk.
Well, I was raised in the church. I got saved when I was 12 years old at a revival. The pastor laid out the simple plan of salvation and the options for eternity, and he laid it out in such a simple way. I was a back row Baptist, and I made it from the back row to the front row very quickly, and I don't think there was an adult male in the church that could have stopped me from making that altar call.
So you have a Baptist background then, kind of was brought in through that?
I was raised out in the country, and my family did kind of move from church to church, and I actually attended a Methodist church, a Baptist church, an Independent Baptist church. We kind of got around there, but Baptist kind of took hold with me. I've been attending a Southern Baptist church now with my wife, who's the pianist there, for 21 years now.
And that's in the upstate area?
Actually, it's in Roebuck. I live in Spartanburg, but my church is in Roebuck, and we spend a lot of time. My wife's from Roebuck, and I'm originally from Pauline, which is even further out in the country than Roebuck is. It was a very rural area. To describe my upbringing, we lived on the second paved road on the right past the country store.
Well, excellent. So you're South Carolinian by birth.
Absolutely. Spent my whole life here.
Well, tell us a little bit then. How did you get into politics? Did faith play a role in that, or talk about how that connection came about with what you're doing today?
Well, I'll tell you, it was something that I never intended to do. It was not a desire of mine. I really thought that politics was really for the lawyers to handle, and I just wanted my goal in life was to have a 3-bedroom house and was to make $100,000 a year by the time I was 30. That was kind of two things I wanted to achieve, and I was able to achieve both of those things. And when I was 29 years old, I had a kind of a struggle, and actually always, since I was about 13, I had struggled with the call to preach, and it was something that I had kind of avoided and wrestled with. And I had a great uncle who I met when I was 17. I was diagnosed with a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and my great uncle, who I hadn't met before, visited me in the hospital, and he was a pastor, and he and I became fast friends. And actually, he passed away at the age of 96 not too long ago. But he was somebody that I talked to a good bit, and every time I would kind of have that struggle, I would go talk with him, and he would tell me to do something else. He'd say, do anything else. He said, if God wants you to preach his word, then it's what you'll do, and you won't be able to resist it. He said, but there are too many people preaching that shouldn't be. And he said, I don't want you to do that unless you're sure. And when we talk, I'm not sure that that's what you should do. So, I kept wrestling with what I was supposed to do with my life. My business was very successful at the time, and I decided at 29 to run for the school board, and I did. And it was a debate with my wife. My wife wanted our children to go to public school. I wanted them to go to private. So And in Spartanburg, we've got some great public schools. We've got Child Evangelism Fellowship in our schools, and I won the school board election, so they went to public school, and that was the beginning of my political career. It was at my first board meeting that there was a construction contract that was going through that I was encouraged to vote for, that I just felt like there was a conflict, and I voted against it and fought against it and actually lost the first vote, but it got repealed. And from then on, I had the political establishment kind of come after me, and the more I got involved, the more I felt like that there needed to be a change there, and ran for the state senate in 2004, lost that election by 21 votes, and then ran again in 2008, won that election, and was reelected again in 2012. So, but back to my great uncle, the pastor, I called him when I decided to run for the school board, and I said, I think the Lord wants me to get involved in politics, and the phone went dead silent. And he said, "Oh no, I've seen many a good man leave, but they never come back that way."
A lot of pastors go dead silent when they hear things like that. Yes.
Well, he was, and that I've never forgotten that since I've been in office, is the fact that he said that, he's seen so many good men leave and go into public service, but they don't come back that way, and that's always stuck in the back of my mind, and I think about that. And like I said, he passed away not too long ago, but he had a tremendous influence on my life, and I'll never forget that conversation.
Well, it's interesting because I do respect you for your faith, and we will get to some of the positions you have and bills you've sponsored with regards to that. And so I know, because I've got to hang around you just a little bit, that your faith has certainly played a great aspect in your view of public policy. But why don't you just take a moment and talk to us, because how does faith work in the political realm? I really want our listeners to kind of hear from someone who's in governmental leadership. How do you bring faith? We hear a lot about, keep your faith over here. It really doesn't have anything to do with what we're doing politically or with regards to, our cultural concerns. And then, and this may be a second question, I'll just throw it out there, add the other layer that you've already mentioned, that, sometimes South Carolina has a reputation for not being real clean in this arena, and there are jokes about it, and I meet a lot of good people, and you hate to think that way, but that is people's mindset. How does a Christian who takes seriously their faith come into an arena that can be really messy at times?
Well, I was actually at Southeastern Seminary. When I had money, my business failed, which a lot of folks are aware of, because in the media, that's something that your opponents use against you, and it was used heavily in the last election, which we were able to win every precinct, but it was made a major issue. But I was talking with when I was out Southeastern, I was talking to a friend of mine who actually has been involved in my campaigns, and I told him about my struggle to preach, and he said, I think maybe God wants you preaching His word from the floor of the South Carolina Senate, and I've mentioned what, as a matter of fact, most recently this Coastal Carolina, which has got a pornographic book basically that they've required students to read, and I went to the floor of the Senate and talked about that. So I've been you've got to be careful, because in the Bible Belt, and here we are, the buckle of the Bible Belt, so many folks use their religion. I don't want to use my religion. I want God to use me, and you have to be very careful of that, because there are a lot of folks, in this state that want to support folks that are professing Christians, and a lot of people try to use their professing Christianity as a means to get elected, and that disturbs me. So I'm always mindful of that, but it does have a tremendous impact on my thought process, because our founders were men of, and of course the history revisionists want to always tell us they were deists, but they were Christians for the most part, and they were they looked for God's guidance, and although I believe that the Bible is an infallible Word of God, I believe that God also touched those men's hearts when they wrote the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, and I just think that they look to God for guidance, and I think that's probably the biggest problem is, although we do have a prayer to start the Senate, I would say that our legislature is very secular, and politicians for the most part are looking for re-election after their first election, and as far as focusing on doing the right thing, and I'm glad you asked the other question too. It's it is kind of disturbing in this state that we've got, corruption, I think, is because of the amount of power, and power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And our legislature has so much power, and the government has so much power over our lives right now. The business owners, if you want to succeed in business in today's environment, I mean, the first thing you need to do if you have a successful or starting a business that you want to be successful is you have to get involved with these chambers of commerce, and they're so intertwined with the government. I mean, big business and government have become synonymous, and because government has so much power over the success in business, it has it's definitely bred corruption, because it is. I mean, power corrupts, and I think that's what's happening in our state, is that and it's becoming more and more by the day.
You're listening to the True Disciple broadcast. My name's Kevin Baird. I'm host of the show, and we have with us today our state Senator Lee Bright, and we appreciate him taking the time out of his busy schedule to come visit with us for just a few minutes, talk about faith and some other things that are going on. You'd mentioned the Coastal Carolina book. I had one of our Baptist friends up in Columbia the other day when I was up there actually pull it up and show me, and it just, I feel like I'm a fairly engaged, aware kind of person, and I was totally blown away by what was being disseminated in our state schools. And I've come to the conclusion, and my listeners have heard this, that I don't believe there's anything such as neutral anymore. There's no such thing as neutral. Some worldview or some value system is going to ultimately prevail, and the question is, which value system is going to ultimately prevail? And I work, and I know you do too. You want pastors to be involved. You want good people, Christian people, to be involved, but they want to compartmentalize their faith. It's like they want to put it over here in this room, and then when it comes to public policy or politics, here's another room, and the two just don't connect. And I know when I listen to you, I just see a guy, and I feel like here's a guy that's doing his best to try to bring these rooms together so we can see that there's a deep connection between our values and what ultimately takes place in some of these very important institutions and values that get disseminated in our state.
Well, I tell you, I think that there's a huge opportunity. A lot of folks, say I'm a libertarian, and I'm not. I'm a conservative Republican, but I do have some libertarian leanings, and I believe in personal liberty, and Christ has the power to make every knee bow if he so chose, but he gives us a choice on how we live our lives, and I think that's it's I believe Christianity is a religion of liberty and a religion of freedom, and I think that's the bedrock foundation of our nation, and I think we need to preach that, and folks a lot of times on the left love to stereotype Christians as these folks that say no you can't, no you can't, no you can't, and just try to put us in a negative light. But, Christianity is a religion of freedom, and it is a religion of love. And I wish that, we could carry that light to the world like we're supposed to. But it's tough to have that righteous indignation when we should have and still show love. And that's something that I struggle with. But there are some opportunities there that we can have. And pastors, as a matter of fact, I had a long conversation yesterday about the abortion issue with someone, and they were talking about, well, how do you think people that had abortions feel, when the way you talk about these things? And I said, well, we've got to reconcile and love the sinner, but I mean, it is still murder, and we've still got to stop it. So there's a delicate balance there.
Indeed, there is. Hey, you've already brought up the subject of abortion, and I know that will be one of the topics that maybe we'll delve into just a little bit more deeply here in just a moment. But I just want to give you opportunity to share what you might see coming down the road, or some things you may be aware of that as a whole the faith community is not aware of. I know you share things with me on occasion, and I look and go, I didn't know that. I didn't even know that was coming. And so maybe there's some things that are coming down the road that you would like to give a heads up to, people of faith. Hey, these things are happening, and we could surely use your help and your influence in this area.
Absolutely. We've got a bill that's S204 that regulates abortion clinics, and to my understanding, and we can't get confirmation on this from the hospitals. We're working on it, but my understanding is that two of the clinics in South Carolina would be forced to close if that bill passes. The one in Spartanburg and the one in Greenville rather, and the one in Columbia. And the one in Charleston may remain open because there's conflicting reports whether or not they have admitting privileges or not, and that's something we're trying to find out. And there has been a court case in Mississippi based on their restrictions of the abortion clinics that the federal government's forced them to keep one open to have access in Jackson. But if we can close 2 out of the 3, the number of lives that would save, with the 7,000 plus abortions that are committed in this state each year, would be tremendous. And the end goal is we have a personhood bill as well that basically would declare life beginning at conception, which is the argument. When you look at the majority opinion in Roe v. Wade, the argument was that it's a right to privacy because we don't know the beginning, when life begins. So that bill could have the potential of overturning Roe v. Wade, which would be our goal.
Yeah, and this area is real important to me, to this broadcast. It really ought to be important to Christian people as a whole, and I think to the nation, because it is foundational. Life is foundational, not just biblically, but life is foundational constitutionally in our original governing documents. I mean, the Declaration of Independence says that there's certain things that are self-evident, and one is life. And if we don't defend life, then it doesn't matter whether you're a Second Amendment, Third Amendment, Fourth Amendment person. There are no rights if you're not alive. And so this to me becomes one of those foundational concepts that we should be battling for. I know people get worked up with regards to Obamacare. They get worked up with their guns. And I'm not saying there's not legitimacy to that. But if life goes, or if life gets shaky, then really there's nothing else that matters.
Yeah, if you can deny someone's right to live, you can deny their property rights, you can deny their gun rights. I mean, all the rest of it by extension is on the table. And that's the point of the law, which there's a book that's written by Bastiat called The Law, and I wish everyone would read it. It's only 80 something pages, so it's a quick read. But it talks about the law and the purpose of the law, and the real purpose of the law is to protect us from one another. And if you can't protect that unborn child, then the whole law itself is at its core suspect.
Well, I know this. You have been on the street. You've been on the street with me. You've been on site in this cultural battle. I can attest to the fact that you're not just pro-life on paper, but you've got fruit. In fact, as I understand it, you have put forth more legislation than any other state legislator in the whole nation with regards to the pro-life movement. So I personally want to say thank you and congratulate you. And however your future aspirations and possibilities shake out, I just want you to know that I appreciate you fighting on this level.
Thank you very much. That was it was meant to be a negative thing. We got it by the author, I'm sure, but we got an email from Mother Jones, which is a liberal publication, that they had done their research and that they had cited that we had sponsored more pro-life legislation than any other legislator in any other legislature in the country. So, we have that as a badge of honor, and I think we were rated as and I'll have to get the article to cite it, but there was another liberal article out there that said that I was the 4th most dangerous conservative in the country running for office, federal office currently. So we took that as a badge of honor. We need to probably put that on our website. Yeah,
it's sometimes the best endorsements are from those that would be considered your enemy. So I understand that completely. Hey, you're listening to the True Disciple broadcast. I'm so glad you tuned in today. My name's Kevin Baird. I am the host, and we're here just to give voice to conservative Christian values and worldview, and hopefully we're articulating an intelligent, cogent viewpoint that causes, a Christian value system to find its place at the table of discussion when it comes to public policy. And my guest today is State Senator Lee Bright, and he has graciously consented to hang with me for a while. In fact, we're going to keep recording and go into a second show because I want him to talk in that show a little bit about his future and what he's doing with regards to running for a U.S. Senate seat. But as we begin to just wrap down and conclude on this portion, you were talking about being branded by the opposition in certain ways and taking your values and them being twisted to be used negatively. I was up with you the other day at the State House, and I was watching some of these hearings take place. I had an incredible education that took place. People have no idea it really is sausage making when it comes to legislation, isn't it?
Well, it is, and I tell you that the hearing that you attended on the Life Begins at Conception, there was another bill prior to that had some personhood language in it, and the Planned Parenthood people were out in full force, and I tell you that they are some tremendous soldiers in the culture of death movement that we have to deal with, and they are very, very adept at the system, and it's just amazing what they will do to keep this barbaric practice of abortion legal.
Yeah, I call it cunning. I mean, they're you if you can give them credit for anything, it's the fact that they are organized, cunning. They understand how the system works, and they use it most adeptly. It convicted me at the level of saying that a lot of us who are Christians and we're trying to get engaged, we got to get the naive out of our system and understand a little bit of how the system works.
Sometimes it feels like you're on the college team having to play the professional team.
Exactly, and I can see exactly how that takes place. I do want to dwell on that for just a minute. It was remarkable in this particular instance that the bill had to deal with a pregnant woman standing her ground under a threatening situation to be able, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, use deadly force to protect her and her baby that's in the womb. And they were concerned about using language that would define that preborn baby as a person.
Yes.
And so it actually sounded to me that they didn't want a pregnant woman to be able to defend that baby in her womb.
They just didn't want that baby recognized as a person, and that is, they understand the law, and they understand that we are doing everything we can, to try to get Roe v. Wade overturned, and any kind of language we can put into bills that will do that. So they know what we're trying to accomplish, and they're doing everything they can to stop it. So it is the term cultural war has been used a lot, but that's what it is.
Yeah. And again, anyone, and I've maintained this and many other advocates do as well, that if you believe that Planned Parenthood or the ACLU or any of these folks that are, advocates for what they call choice, it really isn't so. They don't care about a mother and her child. They don't care about a mother who is wanting to bring forth the child, having the capacity to defend that child. It's just remarkable to me.
Well, and yet a lot of people don't realize too that there's so much money in the abortion industry. So it's not just a worldview that involves wanting to keep this practice legal. There's a lot of money involved as well. So.
Yeah, and it's sad and it's amazing. It's eye-opening. If we could get more people involved at some of these levels, boy, the scales would drop off your eyes to begin to see what's taking place here. Well, we just have a few moments left. Senator Baird, again, thank you for being here. I want to give you just some time here, and we're going to pick this up in a little bit fuller way so you don't have to feel like you have to rush to this, because folks that'll be tuning in to the next program, they'll get to hear you again, and we're going to talk a little bit about your future and your aspirations and some things that you're doing right now. But what can we do to help you right now? What can we do to do something tangible, to act, to help you with some of the fights that you're waging right now in South Carolina?
BrightForSenate.com is my website, BRIGHT for Senate.com. That is the website. If people will go to that and check us out. We're also going around just about every Sunday speaking at churches. We have a pro-life video that it's very humbling to me. We put that video together the last election, and I have a customer that I used to do a lot of business with, that's daughter actually showed that to a young girl that was considering an abortion, and she decided not to have the abortion as a result of viewing that video. And now he told me the other day that every time his daughter, who is a teenager, has a friend come over, she insists that friend watches that video, because
that's incredible.
she says, not that you would ever be in a situation, but you may know somebody that's in a situation, and you need to know that this is a baby. And that just, that's just you work hard and you feel like that, you're building sandcastles sometimes when you're fighting for this legislation, and the folks that are against you just kind of wash it away as the tide coming in. But when something like that happens, you do feel like that, maybe you are making an impact.
Yeah. Well, I know you are, and you will be actually at Legacy Church this Sunday, so we're excited about that. And if you're listening to this broadcast, you would still have time to jump in your car and come meet Senator Bright, and we would love to be able to greet you at Legacy Church. We're meeting in the Tanger area at the Crown Plaza, as we have mentioned on numerous occasions, so we encourage you to come out and to do that. I know Senator Bright would love for you to go to his website and to be able to see what he's doing, and I know you might not do it, but I would suggest to the folks that, in order to do these things, and he will be running for a U.S. Senate seat as well, and we're going to talk about that in our next program a little bit more, but, to do things like this, it takes finance to do it, so I'm sure there's opportunities to help you out in that area as well, and so I want to encourage that, we can write letters, we can write our state representatives, we can put our hands to some things, we can show up and hold signs, but sometimes it takes finance to get these things done. So I want to encourage you that if you want to sow and participate in a great cause, I would certainly encourage you to do that with regards to Senator Bright. Well, I just want to thank you again as we wrap up. Thank you, Senator, for being with us today.
Enjoyed it.
You're a wonderful guy, and we're glad you're with us today. Again, I want you to be reminded as you're listening that we're here every Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. We want you to tune in. If you have friends that perhaps are driving to church, maybe they can't get away and be at church this morning, they can tune into the radio station, and we'd love to be an encouragement to them. I mentioned on occasion that we would love sponsors. If you'd like to sponsor something like this, a business person. In fact, I recently came in contact with a baker recently that's being challenged here in the area with regards to their Christian conscience and how they can operate their bakery. So it's happening right here in the Charleston area. And so they want to be supported. They want to hear their values articulated, in the media. And this is one of those ways. If you'd like to contact me, you can at legacychurchsc@aol.com. Again, legacychurchsc@aol.com. You can also reach me at scpastorsalliance@aol.com, scpastorsalliance@aol.com. I would love to talk to your pastor and get him involved if there is any interest in this particular area. Again, if you want to let some of your friends know about this interview, you can go to our website and hit the media links, and you can go to several different areas and opportunities, and you can re-listen to this link or pass it along. I will attest Senator Bright's video. We'll be playing that video this Sunday morning, and it's a powerful, powerful video. I believe it's called Heartbeat. Is that correct?
Yes.
Heartbeat. Go to YouTube, punch in Senator Bright's name, maybe Heartbeat, and you will be dramatically impacted. Well, again, thank you for listening to us today. I want to just be a blessing to you, and as I end with this: don't just talk the talk, but you keep walking the walk, because the world is looking for true disciples. God bless you. Until next time.